Supreme Court at Nashville, Tennessee. The state of Tennessee versus Dennis Paul Reed. These are like all the court appointed people. The defendant, Dennis Paul Reed Jr., was convicted of 2 counts of premeditated first-degree murder and 2 counts of especially aggravated kidnapping and 1 count of especially aggravated robbery. In imposing a death sentence for each count of first-degree murder, the jury found 3 aggravating circumstances: that he was previously convicted of 1 or more felonies in whose statutory elements involved the use of violence to a person, and that the murders were especially heinous, atrocious, or cruel, and they involved torture or serious physical abuse beyond that necessary to produce death. The murders were committed for the purpose of avoiding, interfering with, or preventing lawful arrest or prosecution of the defendant or another person who had been proven to be responsible. In addition, the jury found that the evidence of aggravating circumstances outweighed the mitigating circumstances beyond a reasonable doubt, and the Court of Criminal Appeals affirmed the convictions and the death sentences. The defendant, Paul Dennis Reed Jr., was indicted for 2 counts of premeditated murder and 2 counts of felony murder during the perpetration of a robbery, 2 counts of especially aggravated kidnapping, and 1 count of aggravated robbery. And the evidence was presented during the trial as follows. On the night of April 23rd, 1997, Angela Holmes, age 21, and Michelle Mace, age 16, were working at a Baskin-Robbins store on Wilma Rudolph Boulevard in Clarksville, Tennessee. The store regularly closed at 10 p.m., and at around 10:10, Craig Mace arrived to the store to pick up his sister, and he noticed that Angela Holmes' car was in the parking lot, and the lights in the store were on. He entered the store through an unlocked door and found no one inside, so he called 911. They found the cash register drawer empty, except for some coins, and a safe in the office with the top removed. The victims' purses were found in the store, but no money had been taken from the purses. And on the morning of April 24th, 1997, the bodies of Angela Holmes and Michelle Mace were found at the Dunbar Cave State Natural Area in Montgomery County, Tennessee, which was between 2.1 and 3.6 miles from the Baskin-Robbins store. Both victims had suffered deep stab wounds to their necks, as well as stab wounds and cuts and abrasions on other parts of their body. Both bled to death. At one point, a man in his late 20s or early 30s entered the store and became obnoxious and very loud about the prices before leaving. And as she left the store, she saw a shiny red car enter the parking lot. George Herstein testified that he was driving to work at 9:59 p.m. on April 23rd, 1997, when he saw a car driving slowly on Rossview Road near Baskin-Robbins. The speed limit's like really high on that road, ain't it? I don't know. When Herstein attempted to pass the car abruptly turned onto Union Hall Road, which is one road after the entrance to the Baskin-Robbins store. And he testified that the car was identical to the photographs of the defendant's car. And on cross-examination, he admitted that he contacted police in June of 1997 after he saw the man's car on the television news, and he acknowledged that he told the private investigator that the car he saw had 2 doors, whereas the defendant's car had 4. A friend of Michelle Mace saw a small red car in the Baskin-Robbins parking lot shortly after 10 p.m. on April 23rd. He further testified that photographs of the defendant's car could be the one he saw in the parking lot. He acknowledged that he told law enforcement officers the car he saw was two-door hatchback, but now he's not really sure. And he also stated that he told the officers that the car had black bumpers. A woman testified that he called her once or twice a week from February to April in 1997 and discussed efforts to be rehired at the Shoney's restaurant. Shoney's. According to Lane, the defendant telephoned her on April 24th, and he told her that he planned to visit her on April 23rd, but it got too late. Business records reveal the defendant purchased gasoline at Texaco station in Clarksville at 9:45 on April 23rd, and that station is less than a mile from Lane's home and less than a mile from the Baskin-Robbins, and handwriting experts confirmed the receipt did belong to him, and a copy of the receipt was also in his wallet. So he was for sure at that Texaco. But he lived in Nashville. So that's an odd place to be. A car was seen near Dunbar Cave around 10:30 on the night of April 23rd. They live across the street from the Dunbar Cave entrance, and they testified the car was a four-door, and that she thought it was odd that the car was not in a parking space. Smith, a friend of Michelle Mace, conceded that he told officers the car he saw was consistent with the photographs of the defendant's car, and he testified that he saw a car in the Dunbar Cave parking lot. He noticed the headlights were on, at one point changed from low beams to high beams. DNA sample taken from small bloodstains found on the right tennis shoe was consistent with one or two of the motives. Two witnesses testified that he told him he could make money by committing robberies. The testifier worked at the Shoney's in January of 1997 when the defendant suggested robbing the fast food place in the middle of the night because there was no witnesses. Tackett thought the defendant was joking, but likewise, Jeffrey Potter testified. Excuse me. Holmes died as a result of a stab wound to her neck that went all the way to her backbone, and the wound, which was consisted with a knife blade of 8 or 9 inches, transected the carotid artery in her jugular vein. Mace suffered 14 stab wounds, including a fatal stab wound in her neck, and a compound incision penetrated her backbone, consisted of 3 changes in direction, which was consistent with a sawing motion. So Dustin Keller and students were in Baskin Robbins at 9:50 p.m. They closed at 10, and they picked Michelle up at 10 after. So he got them out of the store within 10 minutes. And nobody saw him dragging them out of the store screaming. How the hell did he get them into a vehicle and drive them halfway across town?